Let us gather ourselves, placing our attention above our head. We'll chant together Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. So our topic for today is cheerfulness. And we chanted Anandamayi, the very first invocation to the Mother, saying all blissful, all joy, come down. So we'll see how we can bring that psychic joy, the psychic cheerfulness which is always present inside us. And if you have read few books, say the 12 years with Aurobindo and correspondence with Aurobindo, you will see that light-heartedness of Aurobindo with his disciples. It's such a joy, when we read, we just get that true joy, true happiness. And Aurobindo is the master of the universe, who's determining world situations, nations, fate, everything. And he can be this child, innocent child, with that light-hearted humor and making the environment so joyful. In 12 years with Aurobindo, we all know Aurobindo. For 12 years, there were disciples surrounding him, and in that time, he had broken his leg. And one of the disciples, Manilal, he was a doctor. So he would insist that Aurobindo do those exercises, the flexibility for the leg. So most of the time, there's a particular exercise, his leg had to be hanging. So when Manilal was not around and he was about to come in, Aurobindo would tell the other disciples, Manilal is coming, my leg has to be hanging, put my leg up. So when you read that, you feel that yes, you're in his smile, in his joy. And Mother says, what is cheerfulness? She says it's a simple, joyous smile of nature. Everything inbuilt around us, there's this natural joy. And we see the material nature, the flowers, the beauty everywhere around us, the color, the vibrancy. It is coming out of that cheerfulness, that joyousness. And she was saying somewhere, humans take themselves too seriously. I am doing yoga, I am doing sadhana, I have to clear the obstacles on my way. But just living from point to point of joy. In Savitri, there's a line, life was a play from point to point of joy. Why do we take ourselves so seriously? Mothers, she used to talk about, stories based on different values, say, on courage, on gratitude, a lot of other things. And in one place she spoke about cheerfulness. So we have it in volume 2, Words of the Mother. So she quotes an example. So there are two people selling honey. So one person is selling honey with that grumpy face, doesn't want, she will throw away the customers. It is like that. And another person in comparison, very sweet smile, and there's literally honey flowing through her nature. So it's natural that we will go to that person with a very cheerful attitude, who's welcoming. So she's like, always bear that smile, bear that joy which is coming from the psychic, let it be with you. And to Champaklalji, she told a very simple thing. All you need to be is be simple, be happy, be smiling, do your work as well as you can do, and always remember me. So why take the burden on ourselves? Mother, when she was, I think, around 5 or 6 years old, she used to sit on top of a chair in her room, and then her mother would tell her, why is it that you are looking serious and like all the burden of the world is on your head? And mother, she genuinely accepted, yes, I am carrying the burden of the world. So if she is carrying it already for us, and we, her children, why do we think that we are carrying? But because we are still not surrendering, we still want to hold on to our effort, our ego, I am doing it, like that. This image of the Govardhan Parvat is coming to me. So Sri Krishna with his little finger, he's holding the Govardhan Parvat. The Indra, the curse that he gave to that land, and there were continuous heavy downpour, and the people in the village were suffering. But all the villagers are also holding their stick, like they are also supporting Krishna and holding the Parvat. But no, it is him alone who's enveloping all of us. He is supporting us, he is guarding us. So mother gives a very sweet definition. What is mental cheerfulness? All of us are mind beings of the mind, basically. So she says, it knows how to take delight in everything. Ups and downs, struggles, everything it knows how to take delight, the joy. Even today when I was coming, I remembered the sun is so intense, and and mother has said somewhere, be friends with the sun, make sun your friend. If he's your friend, you will not feel that, he's too terrifying and he's giving me a lot of uneasiness. You are going to be in that delight automatically. But it's very difficult, right? It doesn't come so easily. And how to take delight in everything. Like there's a very beautiful episode or a little anecdote with Amritada. He had a heart condition, and there were several days he used to rest, and one of the disciples and sadhaks went to him, and he was saying, how are you, Amrita? And he would say, everything is all right, but my sweetheart is troubling me. So even that a painful situation like that, he converted that into something of a joy, something to cheer about. One more contrast is Pavitrada. The last few years, he was going through the cancer, and it used to take him like 1 hour to climb up mother's steps to reach her room. But he would do it in that equanimous state, not complaining, not whining. Yes, I have to go to mother. No, I have to be with her, lay my head on her lap and discuss on the school and whatever else. But he would do it with that spirit. The scene doesn't directly tell us, we should take delight, but that equality, everything, whatever life throws at you, just take it with that joy. Sri Aurobindo, in his initial years of setting up the ashram, so many years, multiple times ashram has gone through that financial crunch. There would be 100, 150 people who have to be served food and maintained. And Sri Aurobindo would say, the divine has taken a very bad habit of giving everything in the last minute. Even that, we don't know whether there's going to be enough food for the sadhaks the next day. But Sri Aurobindo said, but that faith, that assurance that it will come. So Mother Sri Aurobindo always keep telling us, keep a cheerful mind, a peaceful heart. Let nothing disturb your equanimity. Make every day the necessary progress to advance with me steadily towards the goal. If we have that assurance that the divine, the Mother is walking through us, walking with us, and she says, child, when you think that you are suffering or going down, you think I'm standing outside and I'm somewhere outside and say, okay, let her suffer. No, I am sinking with you. No, I am coming there and I am showing you the light. And somewhere Sri Aurobindo would say, if you think that God has put you in hell, God has put you in some very deep darkness, but you don't see that hand of God, see the other hand of God which is lifting you up. So we do have that confidence. So Mother always says that, child, whenever I speak to you, I tend to be a bit humorous because that joy is coming from the psychic confidence, she would say. That psychic which is always in that ever-present joy. It is the portion of the divine. And Sri Aurobindo, and so many times in Savitri, he's spoken about bliss. Bliss is the root of existence. There's a hidden bliss in everything. God created the world for His enjoyment, for His bliss. And Sri Aurobindo again says somewhere, God definitely must be somebody very filled with humor. Otherwise, He wouldn't have created the universe the way it is right now. So she says you should have an inner good humor which helps you not to get discouraged, not to become sad, and to face all difficulties with a smile. Cheerfulness is the salt of sadhana. It is 1,000 times better than gloominess. So beautifully, I think Sri Aurobindo describes here of the sunlit path. He says it is your choice. There is a sunlit path as well. There is a gloomy path. Which is the better of the two? A path which goes forward in absolute reliance on the Mother, fearing nothing, sorrowing over nothing. Aspiration is needed, but there can be a sunlit aspiration, full of light and faith and confidence and joy. If difficulty comes, even that can be faced with a smile. So it is our choice. It's very clear, whatever it is, the divine is carrying us from one evolution to another evolution, one birth to another birth. It's that we should know that yes, it is the sunlit path. And what is the point of being gloomy, complaining, resisting everything? Somewhere Mother would say that even if there are resistance in the lower nature, forget about that. Just keep walking straight. Walk straight on your path, on your journey towards me. A month earlier, I was in Pondicherry. I was sitting by the beach early in the morning for the sunrise. And where I was sitting, and the sun is just about to come up, and you can clearly see on the water like a golden path. Anywhere you see any seashore place. So I was just sitting there, like the path is right in front of me and the sun is there. So this thought came, I only just have to travel on this path, like all the other periphery things, which is just so irrelevant. My path is from point A to point B on this sunlit path, and there is the mother, all the vastness, all the light, all the happiness. So beautiful that thought was. And even now, like, when we are getting upset over everything, when we feel we planned something, it is not happening, if this thing keeps coming to us, like my only goal is, to be open to the mother and nothing else. I had listened to a beautiful podcast, and again this point kept coming in there. It's like, why are we going after to solve like the small problems around us? Okay, say relationship problems, materialistic problems, or whatever it is. Like, you think that solving these problems will give me happiness, but we are connected to that eternal happiness already, right? So our thing should be, okay, how to progress in the sadhana, how to be more dealing with life with equality, because the path is so clear. We don't need to run after everything. Even in running after desires, say, even there's that hidden joy, right? But we know, Sri Aurobindo tells us, desire after the divine. Why go into these small things, but desire that one thing which is full of happiness. Don't think that XYZ will give me happiness, but that one thing who's this oozing happiness. If we are in connection with that one thing, that life is just so simple, so sorted. And again, Sri Aurobindo talks about cheerfulness. He says, there's sometimes this light-hearted joking, the vital bubbling on the surface. It's all right in ordinary life, but in yoga it merely expends the vital force for nothing. The cracking jokes for the sake of cracking jokes, being in that vital bubbling, because whatever energy you're receiving, the vital is receiving, it should be channelized maybe in work and making the vital more consecrated, rather than like expending those energies. So we should also be careful in that regard also. And Mother and Sri Aurobindo clearly keep saying, do not cherish suffering. Suffering will leave you altogether. Do not cherish suffering, and suffering will leave you altogether. In Savitri, there's a beautiful line, right? Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. So if you do feel, because sometimes we have too much of expectations, of our own sadhana also. Okay, I shouldn't have been angry, and we beat ourselves. Why were we angry? We should have. But don't need to judge ourselves, analyze ourselves also so much. Don't need to cherish that suffering so much. And sometimes when I go into these states, I try and connect with the mother's smiling image, smiling face. How it would be to just live inside that smile, why make life so complicated? And she says, never grumble. All sorts of forces enter you when you grumble, and they pull you down. Keep smiling. I told this before. I seem always to be joking, but it is not mere joking. It is a confidence born from the psychic. A smile expresses the divine, that nothing can stand against the divine, and that everything will come out all right in the end. A smile expresses the faith that nothing can stand against the divine, and that everything will come out all right in the end. Mother also says that smile will disarm the enemy. The enemy, or who he wants to purposely prick you and see that suffering in you, but when you are just out of the suffering and you disarm him with that smile, that radiant smile, No suffering can touch me. Nothing can come between me and the divine. In one of Sri Aurobindo's poem, he says, in your enemy, see Krishna's smile. And if we actually see, like, because we are living in the separative consciousness, no? I am this, you are that, you are doing XYZ, I am doing XYZ, I have this role, you have that role. If you actually see, if we know that we are all that one consciousness which has separated itself, that one has become multiple, we are the same. It's the divine working out in different natures. It is the same divine doing everything. And I remember this part of one of Alok's talks touched me and keeps coming back. So say you hit yourself, in a very, badly, very strongly. And because you yourself are hitting, you are not going to complain. You are aware of your action. And it is painful. The same intensity, some other person hits you. That is different, right? Like, how dare you? What did I do? Why did you have to be, so violent and all that? But actually, if you see, it is, because we want to separate ourselves. Even all that what the world is going through these days, wars in so many places. Everybody wants to prove that, they are best, they are great. And there's this, the consciousness is not united in the one. Even there, if Sri Aurobindo is telling us, see the divine play in everything. Even in this, in whatever the world is going through, we can see the divine play. Somewhere maybe the lower energies are getting crushed, or some new life, something new, so new consciousness somehow should enter the space. We have to make room for that. Maybe in subtle levels, in some other planes, it is happening. So digressing a little bit, since we are speaking about it. So Mother, somewhere in the agenda, she says, I have, in the subtle planes, I have killed all the asuras. So there's nothing like terrorism or anything. So the action of the Mahakali is already worked out in those planes. And slowly it is getting expressed and manifested in the world these days. Talking of Mahakali, we always see her as something so fierce, and her every step she just destroys and clears everything. So actually, Sri Aurobindo says in a letter somewhere, Mahakali acts in your sadhana when there's more settlement and there's more calm. Only then she can come and use her power and reject what needs to be rejected, like that. A cheerful and sunlit heart is a fit vessel for the Ananda. And who shall say Ananda, or what prepares it, is an obstacle to the divine union? A cheerful and a sunlit heart is the first vessel for the Ananda. When Sri Aurobindo describes Mahasaraswati aspect, he says, the mother points to the eternal sunshine. She's seeing much beyond. She's pointing to that vastness, that eternal sunshine, which is always there. Even in our very day-to-day terms, if you see, the sun is maybe hiding somewhere, it may be cloudy, it may be rainy, but still there's light, right? There's some light around us. It is not pitch dark like how it is in the night. So even in the deepest darkness, also there's this sunlight. Even Sri Aurobindo says, right, the deepest night opens to the more luminous darkness, more luminous light. So the light, that eternal sunshine, is for always there. Nowadays there's a lot of talk about connecting with nature, walking in nature, doing your physical exercises in nature, that naturally that widens us. We see like how these trees are aspiring for the light. We connect to their aspiration, so that eternal sunshine, eternal light, which is always there, we should keep remembering this and reminding ourselves often as possible. They keep telling us there's no reason for discontent or dissatisfaction with yourself, since progress is being made in spite of the resistance of the lower forces. Progress is being made in spite of the resistance of the lower forces. Sometimes we are, connecting to the resistance in our lower forces. Mother says, there'll be some corners of your being which are resisting, but there are other parts which are always turned to me, always turned to the light. Focus there. Put your attention in that part of your being. In Savitri, there's a line which says, right, everything in us wants to reach its absolute. I'm not getting the exact line. Everything, every part in us wants to reach its absolute. Even when we feel we are deep in the subconscious level somewhere, still have we parts that grow towards the light. There are always parts of our being which is growing towards the light. And Sri Aurobindo says in a letter, it's not at all the mother's wish or will that you or anyone should remain in grief and despair. What she likes is that you should confide in her and be happy and cheerful. What she likes is that you should confide in her and be happy and cheerful. So if any movements in your being, just openly tell her. You don't need to have like a pen and paper with you. You can have a dialogue with her, have a conversation with her, and just pour everything to her. This reminds me of Amrita Da when he was just acquainted with Sri Aurobindo, and he was, I think, in his 10th standard matriculation, something like that. He asked Sri Aurobindo, I would want to visit you every day. So for many days, maybe months, he used to go to Sri Aurobindo every day around 4 o'clock, I think, in the evening. And for an hour or something, he would continuously talk to Sri Aurobindo. All which is happening in his life. And Sri Aurobindo wouldn't know Tamil, and he would speak only in Tamil, and he wouldn't know much of English. Sri Aurobindo, from time to time, he will be, acknowledging all that he's saying and all. Can you imagine, the Sri Aurobindo giving that space to this young boy who definitely had that ardent aspiration. And in his story he would say he used to live in a village which was close to Pondicherry. So during that independence, during the freedom struggle those days, so when he heard the name that Sri Aurobindo and few others are visiting his village, so he was so excited, so joyful about it. And I think one of his visions, he saw like a light, from his village of Pondicherry's, in that direction. He saw like a huge light coming one day and saying yes, to an extent telling him that yes, an avatar is coming here. Days he is going to carry us all, the assurance that beauty, the divine is stepping closer to us, like that. And that's what we can just have, this ongoing communication with Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Sometimes we hear this a lot, right? I'm going to therapy. So what people want, they just want to let out, feel lighter, like some things they can't tell to people around them. But when we have the Mother with us, who with her soft healing touch of love and grace and protection, she's just going to wipe out everything. So all of us would have gone through so many birds like just looking for her shelter, and now we are little more conscious, we have a little glimpse of her. Why don't we make full advantage of that? This is also the word I'm using is wrong, but she's there like giving herself, and we can try and give like little at least to her love. She says somewhere, divine keeps pouring. Whatever the human gives is some very clumsy recognition of what the love that divine is capable of giving. So Sri Aurobindo tells us, this is what Mother wants, that you should remain near her, always in an inner gladness of heart and outer happiness of the life. Inner gladness of the heart and outer happiness of the life. Remain near her always. What should I do so that my work becomes an offering? What should I do so that I can always be with the Mother? What you should do is to have confidence and try to remain always confident and cheerful. If you feel depressed, call for the Mother's force to remove the depression. If you fall ill, call the Mother's force to cure you. When you work, call the Mother's force to support you and do the work through you. When you work, call the Mother's force to support you and do the work through you. So call her for anything and everything. If you feel depressed, you feel not in the right state of mind, if you fall ill, you call her, let her work in your body, let her cure you. When you're doing your work, ask her to work through you. Dyumanda, when you tell the Mother, I don't know what this sadhana is, I don't have time to do sadhana, really I don't have time to read, I don't have time to meditate, all I'm doing is, working as much as I can. And Mother used to tell him, yes, you do my work, I will do your sadhana. The work is sadhana, the body offering itself, the body at the service of the divine. And Dyumanda wouldn't want to, waste some extra minutes in climbing up the stairs from his room to go to the Mother. He found a shortcut, like just putting a ladder to Mother's room from his room. So if Mother would just utter his name, he would quickly go up. So Mother has called me and have to serve her immediately and not waste the extra few minutes even, taking the time to go like that. So beautiful. We have, all these stalwarts, the people who have walked the path, who are telling us how to walk, and we'll slowly read Amrita Das, all this very humorous anecdotes, how he, with that joy, with that cheerfulness, with that radiance he was living, and what deep sadhana also he was doing. And many of them, we know, Mother has spoken about their previous births and all that. They're all such evolved beings, and because the Divine Mother has stepped in this creation, they all came down to be with her, to help her. We can't say help her. Helpers again, like holding the stick near the Govardhan Parvat. Like she is the one doing everything. Actually, in the beginning days of the ashram, Mother was holding each and everybody in her consciousness, and those golden days of yoga, she used to bring the divine beings in the people. And the very first death in the ashram, people couldn't take it. They would say, we are all children of immortality, children of Ananda. We can continue in this body. Mother will make us eternal. like that, the atmosphere was like that, and people could not comprehend there can be death to that extent. In fact, then slowly when after the descent of all these gods and different sadhaks, and then the yoga, the light went deep into the physical, into the subconscious, then all that which was crawling and creeping, everything came out. So that, because all that needs to come out again for the work, for that to be changed, for that to be transformed. But again, like Mother tells, we shouldn't connect to that alone. We should connect to other parts of our being which are always open, always happy in her light. Sri Aurobindo again says, I would recommend constant openness, a quiet, steady aspiration, no over-eagerness, a cheerful trust and patience. There is no reason, certainly, for despair. There is no reason, certainly. The bliss always comes in drops at first, or a broken trickle. You have to go on cheerfully in full confidence till there is a cascade. The bliss comes in drops, then a small broken trickle, but go on cheerfully in full confidence till there is a cascade. You are in that, say there's this waterfalls, you are bathing in that, full of joy and full of delight. For me, it generally happens like going to Pondicherry once in a few months. You actually feel the Mother's presence, Sri Aurobindo's presence so strongly, and definitely even here, like, doing our outside work and just stepping here, there's a sudden uplift in the being, sudden joy. Yeah, there are times you feel that you're bathing in that cascade and you're walking on top of clouds. Everything is so beautiful. The trees, the birds, the seashore, everything is your companion. Everything is talking to you joyfully, like that. Just to retain that, because Mother says, no, your psychic is more open, especially during our birthdays. That receptivity is at its peak. The psychic is open, so everything is spontaneously. There's no effort. You just be in that joy so spontaneously. So we'll read some sections on one or two sadhaks describing Sri Aurobindo's humor, and also a few letters with Nirodha, and how beautifully, how he brings out that lightness and joy. So Satprem describes Sri Aurobindo's humor, but the essence of his being was humor, not the sarcastic humor of the so-called spiritual man, but a kind of joy that cannot help dancing wherever it passes. Now and then, in a flash that leaves us somewhat mystified, we sense behind the most tragic, the most distressing human situation an almost facetious laughter, as if a child were playing a tragedy and suddenly made a face at himself because it is his nature to laugh, and ultimately because nothing in the world and no one can affect that place inside ourselves where we are ever a king. Nothing in the world and no one can affect that place inside ourselves where we are ever a king. Indeed, perhaps this is the true meaning of Sri Aurobindo's humor, a refusal to see things tragically, and even more so, a sense of inalienable royalty. A refusal to see things tragically. He spoke about, the money not coming in, and even then he would jokingly say the divine has a bad habit of always coming in the last minute. In some conversation, some sadhak asked, but your path has been so smooth, so blissful, we don't see, outwardly you have struggled. But Sri Aurobindo would say, you won't believe the outward struggles I had. Many days he would go hungry, he would just have a piece of bread and salmon or something when he was studying. The money was just not there. The money his dad sent him would be used for other things, or some days he would just not send them. And he just had one coat to bear the severe winter of those places. And he would say, physically also I've gone through so much hardship, but I'm not to keep harping on them and keep talking about them. And we all know in the tales of prison life how much he writes, and what all struggles he has gone through. And he writes that so jokingly, so lightheartedly. It's a book I would recommend all of you to read. It will build that courage also in us, and also see life not so tragically, but see it again seated above and see the play going on, and just be okay, divine is wearing so many masks and he's playing with me, just seeing the play like that. Even if you see any typical play or a drama, so the villain is given that role, he's playing that role, okay, hero is playing the role, challenging the villain. But once the screen is done, the drapes are down, we forget our parts. We are just there for the joy of the drama, for the play, wearing different masks and playing. Suddenly getting one more anecdote of Sri Aurobindo. So there were these sadhaks, and they complained to Sri Aurobindo, we are not able to meditate. The person who's living right on top of us, he does some carpentry work. It's very difficult for us to meditate. So he would say, I'm losing the track of what I wanted to say. There's something else. There were few people dancing, and they would say, okay, there are these serious sadhaks below us, and they are somebody who would want to spend time in silence and meditation. Then Sri Aurobindo would say, yes, they are not the ones to be danced upon, you should be careful. You can't dance upon them. You better find another place and do your dance. Let's just not disturb them. So we'll read a few of the letters, some extracts. So Nirodha once asked him, I am plunged in a sea of dryness. I am terribly thirsty for something. Along with it, waves of old desire. Any handy remedy? He's asking. There's a lot of dryness and thirsty for something. Old desires are coming. Give me some remedy. Sri Aurobindo is telling. Eucharistic injection, that is what you get in the churches, the Holy Communion. He says, get an injection of that, a dose of the divine from above. Then purgative rejection from below. He's using some of these, medical terms. Purgative injection, rejection from below, reject from below. Then a liquid diet of psychic fruit juice and milk of the spirit. Liquid diet of psychic fruit juice and milk of the spirit. So beautifully, his condition, he's giving this remedy to him. Have liquid psychic juice, milk of the spirit, take this thing to reject everything. Next one, Nirodha. I hear from a very reliable authority that the supramental descent is very near. Is it time, sir? Sri Aurobindo, I am very glad to hear it on reliable authority. And I am very glad to hear it from a reliable authority. It's a great relief. So beautiful. And somewhere somebody asked him, so people who are coming closer to you, who meet you often, so are they the ones who are going to get supramentalized first? And you would say, my writing table is closest to me, so you think it's going to get supramentalized? And what Panditji had to say about mother's humor. The mother too had an unfailing kind of humor. Not a day would pass without her making people laugh. She would joke in any situation. In fact, she observes that the more serious a situation, the more she was inclined to joke. Behind that remark, there is a very deep truth which is usually missed. She says that from her childhood, she was in the habit of laughing at things, particularly experiences, situations, crisis of relationships, because these things do not really exist. Crisis of relationships and other experiences don't really exist. So everything for the mother was very laughable. We'll read from Amrita Das narrations. The mother used to take French translation classes in the playground in the evenings. Once, our ever busy Amrita was late to the class. The mother asked him, what was the distance between the human and the divine? And told him, unless you answer this question, you should not enter the class. The mother is asking, what is the distance between human and the divine? Abiti Amrita, instead of answering the question, went straight to the mother with long strides, to the astonishment of the others in the class for violating the orders. And he told the mother, only 3 steps, mother. Thou art divine and I am human. Just imagine this scene. Mother is reprimanding him, you dare not enter the class, you answer this question. This Amrita, like this joyous, happy child, and he's answering the question in all audacity like this. Mother was much pleased with this apt answer and allowed him to attend the class. The entire class admired his intuitive, apt answer told in a humorous way. Catching the toffee. On the first day of every month, the mother used to go to the library house to distribute to the sadhaks their material needs for the month. It was called the Prosperity Day. Some of us would accompany her. She had to pass through a long corridor where quite a number of people used to assemble. The mother would have fun with the gathering. She would distribute toffees to each member, to some in their hands, to most others. She would throw a toffee very playfully so that we might not catch it easily. Most of us were good catchers, but Amrita had never been a sportsman, and the mother would bring that out by either throwing the toffee at great speed or tossing it up or hurling it beyond his reach. Poor Amrita would invariably miss it. Once she threw the sweet quite hard, and Amrita had a violent comic gesture with both arms as if he was trying to embrace somebody. Oh Amrita, the mother cried with a smile. To catch a small thing, you make such a violent movement? Dosmere, he replied, I was trying to catch what was behind it. Everyone burst into laughter. Amrita was very good at such replies. Next one with Sri Aurobindo. Nirodha saying, My nights are again becoming heavy. I don't know how to deal with them. Sri Aurobindo, so are mine, with too damnably heavy burden of letters to write. He's told this such a light fashion. And Sri Aurobindo, people just bombard him with letters, and there would be sadhaks, I wrote to you 1 week back, I have not received the reply, what is happening? And for many years, Sri Aurobindo would spend early hours in the morning not having to sleep, and also he would need some time to, of quietude to just bring the higher consciousness. But we sadhaks were just eating up too much of him. And Mother remarks somewhere, because of this greediness of the sadhaks, Sri Aurobindo in the last few years he almost lost his eyesight because of continuously writing letters to all the disciples. Something from Amalda. To go back to the old days when I was young, there was at that time not only a meditation in the early morning at 7:30, but also a night meditation to which I was admitted because I was a mere novice, and the mother must have thought I would fall asleep. Even now she thinks that people on the whole can really meditate only for 3 minutes. Afterwards, there are diverse states of sleep. When somebody asked her how long a man could sit in Sri Aurobindo's room for meditation, she said, it can't be for more than 3 minutes, for soon after that he will fall asleep. And actually, even the older sadhaks seem to be falling asleep. For Sri Aurobindo, shortly after I came to Pondicherry, put a dead stop to the night meditation, saying, I don't care for a snoring concert. Amalda also used to be very witty. So during these meditation sessions, I think he was an artist, he used to paint, draw. And when some of the sadhaks were meditating, he would do a little caricature, little sketch of them. And one day I think it was A.B. Purani ji. So he was maybe in deep meditation and his head was just bowed down. And Amal Kirtan, he draws his image of that, the way he was like almost falling, bowing down. And he says, writes underneath that, undermined by the overmind. So a lot of these beautiful tales in the ashram. In 12 years also, there are so many such incidents. And mother, she had not allowed, lot of sweets for Sri Aurobindo. Even if they would come as an offering, she would limit it. Once Sri Aurobindo, I think there was some kind of sweet, and he asked, mother wouldn't permit me, but if it's the name, he says, if it's Pantuva, I don't mind. So being grown up without having that taste, liking towards sweets. And there was another case, so some sadhak, they actually went to somebody's house and in fact robbed some jackfruit, and they did prepare a dish out of it, and thinking that it will be offered to Sri Aurobindo and they're going to get it back. Not that everybody and Sri Aurobindo is going to eat the whole of it. But that particular time, that plate didn't come back. It came clean, wiped off of the film. So somewhere they would say, yes, this was got in a very wrong fashion, and the divine knew how to play his trick around us, like that. If any of you remember any incidents or read something of Sri Aurobindo's humor and want to share now, you have 5 minutes. If anything is coming, we can take it up.
Mother asked, do you need anything from the divine? And she was asking all the disciples. Abhitada was asking that I want one banyan.
Yeah, correct.
Because I don't need anything, because the divine mother is in front of me, I don't need anything. But since the divine is asking me something, so therefore I ask her something, I want one banyan.
Very true. Wow.